All right. So it's another Monday. I just got home from work, and it's time to talk about movies for my unwatched shelf that I finally got around to watching this week. Normally, I do this basically in order of how I watched them, but because I watched the entire Dirty Harry franchise minus the first one, which if you want to hear me talk about, go to last week's video. I'm just going to talk about all those first and get that out of the way, and then move on to the rest of the movies I have watched over the last 7 days. So to start off with, um, here are the cases for the rest of the series. We've got Magnum Force is the second Dirty Harry film, and honestly, I like Magnum Force. Magnum Force was a really good movie. It was definitely as good as the first one. It's hard to tell, like, of those two, which one I like better. But Magnum Force is really good. Basically, you've got Harry. Um, he's still in San Francisco. There's someone going around murdering people who have gotten off on technicalities. They're clearly guilty, but they haven't paid their debt to society. And that's the investigation that's going on that Harry is a part of. And it's kind of interesting how you find out because it looks at vigilanteism and is Harry a vigilante or is he just, a normal everyday guy? What is the purpose of Dirty Harry? I am considering getting a ring light if I'm going to continue doing live videos. So hopefully this might get fixed next week. Maybe not. Who knows? But that's what Magnum Force is about. It's a pretty good Dirty Harry. It's a really good Dirty Harry movie. It's definitely an interesting movie. It's just Dirty Harry movies have such simple plots that what makes them interesting is, the characters. It's, the action within the movie that makes them interesting. But they're really simple plots. Like I said, this one's about vigilanteism, and because everyone who saw Dirty Harry thought Harry was a vigilante, and now you move on to Magnum Force, and it's him saying, "No, I'm not. I might not agree with the law, but I'm going to uphold the law because that is what we're supposed to do." The third movie in the series is the incomparable movie, The Enforcer. This is the second shortest movie in the Dirty Harry franchise. Basically, it's about a group of activists who are in it for the money, who are stealing weapons, killing cops, all to hold the city for ransom. So we're back to holding San Francisco for ransom again, like the first Dirty Harry. Overall, The Enforcer is a really good movie. I liked it. I'm really glad it's only a 90-minute movie as opposed to the 2-hour that is Dirty Harry and Magnum Force. I'm glad they left it at only 90 minutes because I feel like that definitely, the story fit better in that timeline. In that time, if they had made it a half hour longer, it probably would have not been as enjoyable. Which brings me to the fourth Dirty Harry movie, Sudden Impact, which is the worst Dirty Harry movie in the series because it is over 2 hours long for a plot that did not in any way, shape, or form need 2 hours. It didn't. It didn't need 2 hours for Dirty Harry to do it. Also, Dirty Harry isn't necessary for this movie. The entire plot of this movie takes place in a different city than San Francisco. He is a San Francisco cop. He is always a San Francisco cop. It has to go to a different city because the plot demands it. Basically, we have Harry. He is a person gets shot and killed in San Francisco, and Harry has to go to this other town to look into it. That's why he's there. And it happens that the person is murdering other people in this town, but the cops don't want him to get involved. And he really doesn't get involved. He wants to, but he doesn't. Again, he's not necessary. It's a revenge story, basically. Her and her sister were raped by a group of men 10 years prior. She finds one of them, the person in San Francisco, and murders him and is now taking her revenge on the rest of them because although she is now, up and about and more adjusted, her sister has been in basically a catatonic state for a decade. So she is taking her vengeance out on the people who are responsible for it. That's what the movie's about, which is actually a pretty solid plot. if you didn't have Clint Eastwood. You didn't need Clint Eastwood. He was unnecessary to this plot. Even at the end of the movie, he's still not, he's necessary because he's the guy, because he rides in and saves the day because he needs to, because that's, you didn't need it. You didn't need it. You didn't need Dirty Harry. You didn't need Clint Eastwood. That's my opinions on Sudden Impact. It's also way too long. Like, if this was a 90-minute movie, it probably would have been really good, minus the unnecessariness of Clint Eastwood. At 2 hours plus, it's just, it isn't as good. It isn't as great. I'm sorry, it's just a little under 2 hours. It's 117 minutes. The last Dirty Harry movie is The Deadpool. This one features young Jim Carrey and Liam Neeson, which is pretty great. Basically, you have a group of Hollywood people who you play the Deadpool, which is where you make a list of celebrities you think are going to die within the year, and the one who has the most dead celebrities wins. Grim. One of these people, their list starts having names knocked off of it. They look like murder, and it's the investigation as to who did it. I liked it. I liked this Dirty Harry movie. It was good. You get RC cars with explosions in it. You don't know who the killer is until the end, but it's not really that important who's actually doing it. It's really cool. It's a really decent film. They went back to, maybe we don't need it to be 2 hours long, because it's an hour and a half flat. So it was a good hour and a half. It kept its pace, and at no point, and I was drawn in again. So really, 4 out of 5 movies are really damn good in this series. So if you've never seen the Dirty Harry franchise, give it a shot. This is definitely one worth checking out. I'm glad I finally got around to it. Sudden Impact's the only one I didn't care for, but that's minor when it comes to a series that has 5 movies. Being happy with 4 of them and entertained by 4 of them is just as good. One's bad, that's fine. All right, so now I'm going to move into the remaining pile I have here of movies I watched either after I was done with the Dirty Harry franchise or kind of in the middle of it. Like, I'd watch a Dirty Harry movie and then I'd watch one of these. So I started with the movie Filth, starring James McAvoy. This is a hard one to kind of get into. Basically, Filth is about a Scottish cop who is doing everything in his power to get a promotion, because he wants to impress his wife, and getting this promotion will do that. There's also a kid who gets murdered, and there's an investigation, but that's really behind everything else, as it's him trying to lie, steal, and cheat his way through everyone to get to his promotion. There's a scene where he propositions a 14-year-old girl for a blowjob to not tell her father, who is a high-ranking city official, that she's having sex with other men. Yep, this is the character we are here to root for. It's got a lot of twists and turns. It's weird. It wasn't bad. It's one, though, like, I watched it and went, I watched it. I'm not going to watch it again. I can say that. It wasn't bad. Like I said, it was weird. It didn't give you anything until the ending. Like, it didn't even hint at anything. You made assumptions just by the way it was presenting things, but it didn't actually tell you anything. It didn't hint at it until the ending. You got to make your presumptions because one of the things is his wife, who is alive. I'll start with that. She's alive and kicking, but she's basically a hallucination every time you see her, except once. So you don't see her until the end. So you spend this entire time realizing what it is, that it's hallucinations, and you start making these assumptions, but it doesn't even hint at what the truth is until the end. So again, it's not the worst movie I watched this week. Sudden Impact's not even the worst movie I watched this week. We'll get to that in a minute. But it's low on that list. It's pretty low. And I had watched this one after I watched Magnum Force, and Magnum Force is really good, and this was just okay. So it was a letdown. Next, a surprisingly average movie that was fun to watch. Um, Guns, Girls, and Gambling, starring, among others, Christian Slater, Dane Cook, Gary Oldman, Tony Cox is in this, Chris Kattan. It's another movie where Christian Slater has something to do with Elvis. It's the third part of the Christian Slater Elvis trilogy because he's in True Romance where Elvis makes a cameo and he's a big Elvis fan. He plays an Elvis impersonator in 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and he plays an Elvis impersonator in Guns, Girls, and Gambling. I'd seen this cover so many times when it first came out. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to watch it. I came across a copy of it for a couple of bucks, and I finally read the back of it and went, you know what? This sounds stupid, but it sounds like my level of stupid. And it sounds like the kind of a plot I like, because I like the big, like almost Guy Ritchie, like Snatch, Rock and Rolla kind of plots where there's a bunch of characters and they're all going after something, and you really don't know what's going on until you get to the end. That's what this is. It's not as good as Snatch. I like Snatch. Snatch is a really good movie. It's not as good as that, but it was pretty enjoyable. It was pretty entertaining. Basically, it takes place at an Indian casino. Christian Slater is there because his girlfriend has dumped him, and he's just decided to go out and gamble. He ends up entering an Elvis impersonator contest to win some money. He loses miserably, but he's playing cards with the other Elvises. He passes out, wakes up the next morning to find out that a sacred warrior mask of the tribe has been stolen, and everyone thinks he did it. So he has to go through everyone who's going after it, which, of course, there's a large plethora of people trying to get their hands on this mask because it's worth $10 million. While dealing with the chief who runs the Indian casino, the rancher who owns all the land around the Indian reservation and its casino, and everything else. You get crooked cops, you get hitmen. It's entertaining. It's not great, but it's a pretty entertaining film. I liked it. I'll watch this one again just because I'm bored, and I'll say, what the hell, and I'll throw it in. This is one of those movies. The second watch is really what's going to determine it for me on like how much I enjoy this movie. But I can think of plenty of movies that started off with, that was pretty decent, and then I decided to throw it in again, and somehow it just ends up getting a regular rotation in movies I watch. So it wasn't bad. I liked it. All right, next up we have Philadelphia. This is the drama starring Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, where Tom Hanks is a lawyer who has AIDS. He is fired from his law firm, possibly because he has AIDS, and he sues them, and Denzel Washington plays his lawyer. That's the plot of the movie. It was good. I get why it won Oscars. I get why people love this movie. It was enjoyable. I don't want to watch it again. But it was a good movie. If you've never seen Philadelphia, give it a try. It's definitely a very interesting movie. I do agree with a lot of people. It doesn't go, being the first big movie about AIDS, it doesn't go that far beyond the evident that he might have been fired. And the movie's not even clear on that. If you actually sit down and watch this movie, it's never really clear if he was fired because he has AIDS, if he was fired because he was gay, or if he was just fired because they wanted to fire him. It definitely leans towards he was fired because they wanted to fire him, maybe because he was gay. Clearly, the AIDS thing, really, if you watch the scenes with the managing partners of his firm, it really sounds like that has nothing to do with it. Even in private, like when it's just them talking, it's still delivered like they didn't know. Therefore, the decision wasn't made based on that, but he still wins the case in the end because it's based on a true story. I liked it. It was good. It's not a multi-watch movie, though. It's one of those dramas you watch it and you go, well, I've watched it. It was good. I've been entertained. I don't need to see it again. But Philadelphia was a good movie. Just, not one for me to rewatch. Not one of those. Following Philadelphia, I decided to watch Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Yeah, I know. I followed up the Oscar-winning drama with the weird comedy. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist is a movie made by Steve Odenkirk, who is known for the Thumb films and Jimmy Neutron. He directed Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. Not a fan of that movie, but I like the Thumb films. Basically, he took a old Chinese film and redubbed it. He also added himself in via green screen. He added in some new scenes, added in some other people to turn it into a weird, poorly dubbed comedy. And it's really good. It's for being a comedy. It is stupidly entertaining. It's a lot of fun just to sit there and go through the paces with this movie and its weird comedy. It opens with a baby getting into a kung fu fight with a bunch of people, and like it's a really poorly CG'd baby. Like it looks like it's the thing from Ally McBeal, but it's a fun scene. It is really a fun scene. The first laugh I really threw at this movie was the baby jumps out of an exploding building, rolls down a hill. His family is now dead. It gets picked up by a woman, and you start going, "Oh, this is it. Okay, this is the person who's going to raise it." She kisses it. It looks, and she says, "Bye bye," and rolls it down another hill. So the baby just keeps rolling down a hill. It's a great scene. I laughed, and it's a very well done movie with how they figured out how to add in the jokes. I mean, how to add in Steve Odenkirk as the star of this movie, even though there was an actual star of the original film. I liked it. I liked Kung Pao. It's a fun movie. It's one I'll watch again when I just want to watch something I don't need to pay attention to. I can just let my brain wander and laugh at stupidity. This falls into that category hard, and that makes it a really good movie and one worth watching again. So, all right, I got 2 films left to talk about, and I haven't covered the worst movie I watched this week yet because it is sitting over here. And it's the next one. So I didn't expect this movie to be good. I'm going to start with that. I knew what this movie was. I knew who was in this movie, and I went, this is going to be bad. But I hoped it would be bad good. Like it was so bad it was good instead of it just being bad. And that is Double Take, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman. First off, I'm not sure what the time frame of the last half of this movie is. It's a day. It's a couple of days. It's not clear, but Dennis Rodman changes his hair 5 times. So, however long it takes to bleach and recolor, plus travel, it's not very clear of how long things happen. And the fact that they literally have stuff set up that makes no sense why it's set up. The villain, played by Mickey Rourke, who is the best actor in this movie, and is still very bad in this movie. There's a scene, and I'm not even going over the plot. I'm just kind of jumping to this weird-ass scene where Jean-Claude Van Damme escapes the place he's being kept for plot and returns home, and Mickey Rourke has a bomb, but he just assumed he was alive. He didn't know he was alive. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know he was coming after him. Yet there's a car with a tape in it saying, "Oh, your baby. His wife is pregnant. Oh, your baby's due tomorrow. Ha 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 ha. Get here." It's like, how do you plan that? How? How do you know? How did you know? How? I want to know. The movie will not explain that. And it's more frustrating than it is funny. Basically, the movie is Jean-Claude Van Damme is a retired Special Forces commando, deep Special Forces, who is brought out of retirement to capture his greatest enemy, played by Mickey Rourke, and Dennis Rodman plays an arms dealer who, for some reason, is in this entire movie. There's no point for him to be there. It's just to make the double team. And he makes a lot of basketball references. Yeah. So anyways, Van Damme gathers a team and they go to a carnival to capture Mickey Rourke. And Mickey Rourke's there with his son because he's there with his son. And Van Damme won't take the shot to knock him out, just to knock him out, not to kill him, just to knock him out so they can capture him. Van Damme won't take the shot because of the kid. And he doesn't want him to see his dad get arrested. So anyways, Mickey Rourke realizes there are agents there. There's a huge gunfight. The kid dies in the skirmish of this gunfight. Jean-Claude Van Damme ends up getting blown up in a maternity ward because babies are a thing in this. There's a theme of this movie is babies, apparently. And it moves really fast. Like, this movie is an hour and a half, and Like, that was not like a huge, that was like the first 15 minutes of this movie I've just explained. Van Damme gets blown up. They hate windows. Any window they find, they break. Literally, even if there's no point, Mickey Rourke goes to this hospital, kills the guy behind the desk by punching through the window, and then for some reason there are other windows along his sides, breaks those too. No purpose to break them, doesn't need to break them, he just breaks them. Anyways, so Van Damme is taken to the colony, which is where deep cover agents who fail go, so they can still be useful, and they have to scan their fingerprints, and he trains to figure out how to get off and away from the colony, because this is a movie in itself, but we're going to spend 20 minutes here and then move the hell on. He trains, and he looks like he's humping a bathtub at one point that's full of water, and he's training, and he's figuring out the timing of airdrops, even though you never see him witness one, you just see him timing it. But he's never witnessed one, and he has to sit in his room every time there is one, next to the machine that takes his thumbprint that doesn't have a window. So how does he know how to time it? I don't know. We're moving on. Anyways, he gets off the colony, because why not, after being attacked by a guy he thought he killed, but he didn't. He was sent to the colony, and you're told everyone has a guardian who goes after if you try to escape. So this guy attacks him underwater and gets killed. And you're going, oh, that's his guardian. Nope, you find out a different guy's his guardian. How did this guy get out of his room? How did this guy know Van Damme was doing this? How did he get scuba gear? Why did he put a plastic bag over Van Damme's head underwater? Yes, he takes the plastic bag to suffocate him, puts it over his head, and they're both underwater. All he has to do is hold him, and it'll do it on its own. That's how water works. So Van Damme escapes into the air, where he has his best line of the movie, which is he looks at a guy he's about to throw off the airplane and asks him if he has a parachute, and then throws him off. He has a parachute. Yeah. Van Damme hijacks a plane to take him back to Dennis Rodman to get weapons, but Rodman won't do it until Van Damme offers him CIA bank accounts, and then he gives him weapons, and for some reason Van Damme pushes him out of a plane. Because reasons. And now they're at his house and the whole thing with the car, and he goes to Rome and he's trying to find him, and eventually he fights Mickey Rourke and a tiger. The tiger was part of the earlier circus things, and it would have made perfect sense for Van Damme to fight a tiger then. But now an hour later, I don't care if Van Damme's fighting a tiger. And there are landmines for some reason, and Dennis Rodman shows up again on a motorcycle to save the newborn baby who is not making a single sound, even though his entire life has now involved tigers, gunshots, and explosions, because he's been born for 10 minutes. So Van Damme fights the tiger and fights Mickey Rourke, saves his baby, his guardian shows up, he's allowed to escape. They hide behind Coke vending machines to fend off an explosion, because Coke vending machines will save you in an explosion. And they all live happily ever after, except Mickey Rourke, who gets blown up with a tiger. Because that's Double Team. Now, to put this on a scale, is it worse? Do I hate this movie more than I hate something like All About Eve? No. Now, the passion I hate this movie with is a different type of passion than I hate All About Eve. Because I'm getting reworked up thinking about All About Eve. Is this a worse movie than last week's worst movie? Again, I would have to say that answer is no. It isn't a worse movie than that. I can't remember what movie it is I got super frustrated with last week while I'm sitting here. But it's not worse than that. Is it a bad movie? Yes. Does it have redeeming qualities? No. Is it a poorly written script? Yes. Is it poorly acted? Yes. Is this a movie nobody needs to see ever, and all copies of it should be collected up and burned? Yes. Just to make sure no one has to see it again. Yeah, that's just it. Van Damme's not that good in it. Rodman's not that good in it. Mickey Rourke isn't trying. And that's it. It's a bad movie. And that's just what it is. It's not horrible. It's just bad. That's all I got to say about Double Team. Clearly, I'm not watching it again. So that brings us to the last movie I watched over the last 7 days, and that is Jacob's Ladder, which is what I watched immediately following Double Team. Actually, I watched both of these movies with my roommate. He had a lot of the same thought process I did about Double Team and all of its problems. But basically, he picked which movie we started with by me putting him behind my back. And he picked Double Team, which was great because I would have hated to have followed up Jacob's Ladder with Double Team because this movie is good. This movie's worth rewatching. It is a hard movie to explain without giving it away, without actually going deep into what the movie is and deep into what ends up happening throughout the course of the film. This one I don't want you to watch, so I'll give you a deep dive as to exactly what happens in this movie scene by scene because it's shit. This is good and it's worth watching and it's worth experiencing both as that person who doesn't know what's going on for the first time and why I'm saying it's worth rewatching, going back and rewatching it, knowing what's at the end of the rainbow here. It is a very good movie. I'll try to give a synopsis of it. Basically, you have a man named Jacob Singer. I'm actually just going to read the back of the box because I think that might do it the best. Jacob Singer is a Vietnam vet hunted by the memories of war and the death of his young son. As Jacob starts to experience visions of demons all around him, he begins to question what is real. Is he going insane? Is he suffering from post-traumatic stress? Or could he be caught in the middle of some horrific supernatural battle he can't understand? It's a pretty good synopsis of this film without going into what actually happens and all of that. But you get a terrific performance by Tim Robbins. Elizabeth Pena gives a great performance. Danny Aiello. Ving Rhames is in here. He gives a great performance. Jason Alexander has a couple of scenes. He does really well. It's a very well put together movie. That's definitely worth your time. I get it. I'm not going super deep into it. But it's hard to say if I liked this over some of the Dirty Harry movies. They're so very different because this is a psychological thriller while those are action movies. So it's hard to say. Shit can always be called shit. Okay, shit's always shit, regardless of what genre it is. And average is always average, also regardless of what genre it is. But when you're talking about actual quality, the genre does matter because a good psychological thriller is a lot harder to make than a good action movie. However, if you try to make a good action movie, if you tried to put those same good action qualities into a movie like this, it would be bad. So it's hard to rank goodness comparatively between genres. But Jacob's Ladder is one worth checking out. I'm sad I waited as long as I have to finally sit down and watch it. And let me tell you, after watching this heaping pile of garbage, it was nice watching a movie that was actually really good, really thought-provoking, and very well done. So that's what I watched over the last week that I've never watched before. I've still got about 20 movies left on the shelf. So next week, I'll hit you with the next stack of them. I don't know what is exactly going to be on there because I haven't made those choices yet. I'm considering some of them that I might watch even tonight when I'm done with this stream and I do a few other things and I have free time later tonight. I might watch one and I'm considering what that might be. And I am just going from there. All right. Well, it's great talking to you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like it, comment, subscribe, you know all that. And I'll don't forget, Tuesday is the 1994 Royal Rumble. Hear me talk about the weirdest ending to a wrestling match and a Rumble in the same night because it happened. And I hope you enjoy your week. I hope you enjoy the next 7 days. Enjoy this time, and I will see you next time. I am Martin Prevost. Have a good one.